deal with the individual provisions of the Act, and certainly the most publicized section of the Act that involved individuals was the potential for the $1,200 rebate. So as you'll see throughout this presentation and the provisions of this Act, I think Congress and the legislators knew that there was going to be a significant disruption in the economy as a result of the coronavirus. And they knew that the best way to try and deal with it was to somewhat try to keep employees intact at their business, and we'll get to that more on the Paycheck Protection Program, loan program, but also to get money into the hands of people that were going to be directly impacted by the economic shutdown. So this was an attempt by Congress to get money immediately out to taxpayers. So again, long on intention, short on implementation, right? They announced the program to get the $1,200 out to people based on their 2018 tax return filings. And they started issuing checks. Well, unfortunately, people died, people moved. So checks were going to addresses for people who were not there. People that died got refunds. So again, good intention, clunky execution, right? I think some of that has been smoothed out. And as you can see at the bottom here, the IRS has provided a, get my payment tool website address if you still haven't received your tax refund and want to have it redirected or find out what its status is. But in general, they wanted to get $1,200 rebate out to eligible taxpayers, and that had also to eligible children that were dependents of the taxpayer. So these payments are not intended to be income, and they're not intended to be taxable. They were just money that the IRS and the government wanted to get to the taxpayers. So some people may have been affected by the phase out for receiving the refund based on their adjusted gross income. I've outlined those there on the slide, and you can see where the phase outs are for different filing thresholds. So if you didn't get a refund, it's possible that you've phased out. If you're not in those phase out range and you're expecting a refund, again, you might want to go to the IRS, get my payment tool to find out where your refund is at. As I mentioned, refunds went to deceased taxpayers. My aunt, who died at the beginning of 2018, but did file a 2018 tax return, actually received a refund. And initially there was no mechanism to return the money, right? The IRS didn't have anything in place to have people send that money back to them. They have since developed a website and have some information on how to get that back. You can seek that information out if you inadvertently received a payment. So the idea of the payment here, our second to last bullet point, the payment it's really an advanced credit that taxpayers are receiving on their 2020 tax return. So the payments are going to reduce what would otherwise be your eligible credit. Depending on where your AGI is in 2020, even if you phased out of that, the ability to receive a refund, it's not going to be taxable. So there were people that had lower income in 2018, or maybe even in 2019, that are going to file their returns, are going to get this credit. In 2020, their AGI may be limiting what they would normally get as far as the credit, but there are no refund provisions for that. So 2018, 2019 were really the predicator on whether you were going to get the refund, And a lot of people who had increase in income from 18 to 19, we advised them to wait to file their return if there was a possibility that they would phase out. And that way they would be able to avail themselves of this recovery rebate for the individuals.